My name is John Wagambie. I was born on the 14th of March 1954 at Malang Hospital in Leh. My father was a policeman and I was born there. From there, I grew up in Leh and Madang before I went back to Wewak, where I finished my high school in Madang, and then I started my employment as an apprentice at Bougainville Copper. And that's where I started my rugby league journey on a representative level.
Can you take us back to the start of your rugby league journey? How did you first get into the sport?
Very good question. As I said earlier, my dad was a policeman and I grew up in Leh and Madang. In Madang, I started playing junior league. And then when my dad retired, we went back to Wewak. I continued playing, but I played rugby union in Brandy. And when I went back to Madang Tech to complete my year 9 and 10, I played in what was known as the under 9 stone schoolboys rugby league. And our president was late Jack Amsbury, was the teacher at Bugandi High School. So that's basically how I started my rugby league career from schoolboys.
And can you tell us about your playing career?
Certainly. So when I finished my high school, I was employed by Bougainville Copper. I went and spent 3 years there to train as a mechanic, and that was in 1973, and I started my representative career then. In 1974, I was one of the members of the Bougainville side that played in the intra-zone. We played against Kimbe, New Ireland, Rabaul, and they selected the New Guinea Island side. So in those days, the system was very good. You had this intra-zone, and then you select your zone side. We went across to Leh, and we played against the New Guinea Highlands, the Highlands region, and the Mumasa region. And from that tournament, they selected a team to play Papua. Now, in those days, there was this Papua versus New Guinea. And I think the process, looking back, is very good because it gives you an equitable means of selecting the best players, starting from the zones, and then you only had one halfback, example from Papua, one from New Guinea. So I was a member of that team together with Steve Malum, as you may recall. And then we came and played here in Port Moresby. Unfortunately, there was a big riot after the final game. I played in the New Guinea seconds as a hooker, and I went up as a reserve for the New Guinea first, substituting Scary Palanga. We lost by 2 points, and there was chaos in Port Moresby. Everything, all hell let loose, and Port Moresby shut down for a couple of weeks. So after that, I returned to Bougainville, and then when I finished my apprenticeship in 1975, I went across to Leh. Before that, in 1975, I was selected as a pioneer member of the Kumuls team. That was the pre-independence Kumuls team. And our captain was Mr. Paul Chu. He's the owner of PI Industries. And Paul was based in Rabaul then. You know, during those colonial years, there were a lot of Chinese and that in Rabaul. So that was 75. So in 76, I was recruited to become a police officer cadet, and I went to Joint Services College in Egan Barracks, where I trained together with Jerry Singarok, former Brigadier General, PNG Defence Force. And then I think I must have set a record because playing in reserve grade for the Joint Services team, I was selected to play for Northern Zone as a hooker. But the Australian commandant, I went across to show him my letter of selection, and he told me, Officer Wagambie, I said, yes, sir. You are here for me to train to be a police officer. Offer decline. So I didn't get into the Northern Zone side because of that. When I finished my 1-year training at Egan Barracks, I transferred to Bomana. And that's where I did my final year to become a police officer. I was 23 years old then, and I was playing for Paga Panthers. And the reason why I played for Paga Panthers was that my chief instructor, his name is Anton Daniel, late, he was a coach at Paga Panthers. So I had no choice but to play for Paga Panthers. So I started my journey playing in Port Moresby in 1976, come again 1977. And then the Kumuls team was selected, the first ever Kumul team post-independence. I was 23 years old, and even though I was not captain for Paga or Southern Zone, out of the blue, led Dr. Jim Chagopi, the president of the PNG Rugby Football, selected me out of nowhere to be captain. And it's been an honor to have captained the side. We played France. France was the third superpower in Rugby League. And then it was really an honor for me to be given the privilege to captain the team. And we did very well. We thrashed France 36 points to 4. Or is it 30-4? 37-6. Now, during those days, if we scored a try, it was 3 points. You converted it 1 point, like 4. There is no such thing as field goal or all these things. Huh? So can you imagine if it was the scoring system of now, we would have gone up to about 70 or something. And as the first captain of the Kumuls, we had a good spread of players from around the country because of this zone system. We had our brothers from the Highlands, we had our brothers from the Central Province, we were New Guinea Islands, and it was a really balanced team. And I'm so proud to have been given the privilege to be the captain, because the way our guys played was really super. We didn't have any exposure in playing abroad or whatever. We didn't have too many teams come and play us. But looking back, that performance was really super excellent. And as a leader who was younger, I had other people like Steiner Sapu and Joe Gandhi and all those people who were older than me. But I was so privileged to be given the opportunity, and I repaid that fate to let Jim Jacoby by ensuring that we delivered.
What are your best memories of that game?
Well, actually, my best memories was when the game was over. You just imagine, all these people jumped the fence and they came and they shouldered me. Vai Karava, Peter Paschen, respected, they shouldered me and went all over the rugby league field. And I guess that was the best memory of my time. The game was great, but being carried around like a king was something else. And that's something that I'm grateful, and I'm so thankful to all those supporters who might be listening now. They are older, of course, but some of them have passed, some of them are still alive.
I was a little boy in Grok at the time, and I remember being glued onto the radio until the Kumuls won, and we were all shouting, and the whole town was celebrating. So that was a very historical moment in Papua New Guinea history that really brought the country together, especially just 2 years after independence.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I mean, that was great, and I think as I speak, Rugby League still has this pulling power of uniting the nation. So even though when we have like teams from different parts of the country playing, they may be biased, or me belum sibuk ya, me supported la team, or me belum Mendi ba me supporting Mendi Muruk something. But when it comes to our guys playing in the orange and black jersey, we are all united. So indeed, Rugby League unites the nation, and I'm glad that we have been given an entry into the NRL. There has been so many different discussions, but at the end of the day, I believe that a lot more things can be achieved, even though it's politically motivated. That aside, I think we stand to, the country stands to gain a lot from this entry into NRL.
After that win in 1977, you were named as Papua New Guinea Sportsman of the Year. So how did it feel to be named Sportsman of the Year?
Okay, I haven't actually mentioned the fact that we used to have this Pacific Cup, for which I was a member of that Pacific Cup too. 75, first Pacific Cup, and the second Pacific Cup was in 1977, and that was after the game in Port Moresby. So we traveled down to New Zealand, and we played in the Pacific Cup. There was the Kumuls, the Maoris, Western Australia, Darwin, and South Australia. And out of that tournament, excuse me, I was voted as the best and fairest player, and I was given a trophy by the Queen of the Maoris and $100 New Zealand. So when we returned to Papua New Guinea, my name was entered in by my club, Pagapentes, for the Sportsman of the Year. And so all other sports too put in the nominee, and then I ended up being named Sportsman of the Year. And if one chooses to check the archives of the Post-Courier, there will be a big write-up on the back page about the two Johns, the late John Abba and John Wagambie. And I was named John Wagambie, King of Rugby League. So anybody who chooses to check on it, go and check the archives and you'll see it's there. So that was it's a very successful year for me as a young 23-year-old police cadet.
And continue on with your playing career after the...
Yes, I
1977.
started representing, as I said, from 1974 to 1984. Okay, I missed out on going to the European tour when I broke my elbow. I think it was 79 or so. I broke my elbow, and then I was not selected. I couldn't play in the zone trials because I broke my elbow and I was unable to. I missed out on the zone trial, and I thought because of my background they could have selected me, but they didn't. So I missed out on the England trip. Okay, and I think that was one of my biggest disappointment of my life, but there's nothing I could do about it. So I kept on playing. I played for Pagapentes up until I decided to hang my boots. I have represented Kumuls. We played, the Kiwis, and we went down to Brisbane. The last game I played was in '84, and we played South Queensland. But basically, that was a state of origin team for Queensland. So you got guys like Mal Meniga, Chris Close, and Gene Miles, and all those people. We played them. We were beaten quite badly. I think it was 30 points to 8 or something like that. And then I was voted as the best and fairest for the Kumuls team. Now we used to call it Leng Paka. So when we returned, I had a look at myself and said, okay, everything a player would want to achieve, I've done that. So I think it's time for me to step down, to provide the opportunity for a younger person to fill my shoes, and then I went into coaching. So I could have played on, but I decided that since I've achieved everything in Rugby League, there's nothing else to achieve. So it's good to move aside, create a pathway for a younger player, and so I moved into coaching.
Mr. Wagambie, after your playing career, you transitioned into coaching, including leading the Kumuls in the 1992 Rugby League World Cup. Can you tell us more about your transition into coaching?
Thank you. Thank you. It's a very good question. I started off coaching Paga Panthers. I coached them for 1 year, and then they, in their wisdom, they didn't extend my tenure, so they appointed Nathan Passingan to be the coach. Okay, and then I had Richard Sikani, is former senior correctional officer and related to me. So this is what he told me. He said, "Oh, Tambu, you come across and coach Tarangao. Because Tarangao, when there's a game between Tarangao and another team, they used to ask you, what's the score like? And they will say, oh, looks like Paga will be 45-50 and Tarangao will be 10. It was predictable that Taranga was a team that was very weak, and they were always at the bottom. So when I thought about it, I think it's a good thing to go up so we can even the balance of make the game interesting. So I went across to Tarangao. I think it was 89, 88, 89, 90. So I went across to Tarangao, and before I coached them, they were wooden spooners. So in 88, we rose from wooden spooners to 5th. We played the finals, we were knocked out. 88, 89, again we made the finals. We went to the grand final, we missed out. We were knocked out by West. So come 90, we again played West in the grand final. And the previous year, when I came out to the car park, there was all these women, waters, and they were crying, and I told them, hey, listen. I told them, listen, there will be less crying and more joy next year. Sure enough, it happened. We led all the way to win the premiership. And in so doing, I am so proud to tell this country that along the way I produced so many players who made the Kumuls. Elias Payo came from Magani. He was brought down from Wabek as a grade 10 student. He played for Magani for 1 year. That was 89. 90, he came and he was standing at the sideline at our oval in Bomana, and somebody said, oh, coach, Elias Payo comes and apply. So I went and I said, are you here to watch or play, train? The trainer said, we don't have any spectators. You either get dressed or go somewhere else. He did. And this is what he told me. He said, oh, coach, this is what people tell me. If you want to be a Kumul, you go and play under John Wagambie. From Tarangao, with Elias Payo, Ben Birulate, James Napau, Richard Wagambie. Elias is now living a good life in Queensland. Okay, we lost Ben Biri. Of course, James Napa is a big boy now for UNT at the Pom Joint. Okay. From coaching Tarangao, the intercity competition was started. It was called Intercity. And then
1990, yeah. 1990, I remember.
Yeah. And then I was the first ever Vipers coach. And then we won 2 years in a row. And then you may recall we entered the Queensland Cup, Q Cup, Vipers. Actually, by the time I was with Oil Search, and Stephen Malum was the first coach He lasted about 3 months, and they kept losing. So the board of Portsmouth Rugby, they sacked him. And they approached me, and then I became the Vipers coach. So we used to fly down to Brisbane and go and play in one of the suburbs, and we play here. And one problem I noticed was that when we go down to Queensland, we would lose. We might lose badly to the team that we played, but when this team comes to PRL, we would kill them. So I realize now that it's something to do with psychology. So I had a good friend at uni, Dr. David Bura. He's a psychologist, lecturer. So I brought him in to talk to the boys to try to give them a bit of mental tenacity. And for those of you who are listening, who are rugby league players, this is what the psychologist told my boys. When you don't worry about the clock, because for us, many of us, when we see the big clock at PRL starting to wind up, we start to give up. But you look at the NRL, even if a team is way ahead, as long as there's time, the team behind will fight back and they'll win. So this is one thing that I learned from Dr. David Bura, that you don't worry about a clock. As long as there is time, you still can win. So I found that our boys were mentally weak when you're playing in front of a smaller crowd like 300 people. It's not like 3,000 people. So that's one thing I learned. And then our sponsor didn't have the funds to continue sponsoring us, so we didn't continue with the Q Cup. And just as a matter of interest for those of you listening, during those times we got bugger all for our job. We used to pay the players 20 kina a week to come to training and no other allowances. So when we go down, when we play, the players would get 500 kina for a win, 250 for a loss. As coach, I get 750 kina. So we were next to nothing compared to the hunters these days. But our performance was good, and I am so grateful to those people that I coached. Some of them have passed on, unfortunately, and may their soul rest in peace. So that's basically the Vipers. And then I was appointed Kumuls coach in '92, and coincidentally I was appointed as a general manager post. So I went to see my boss, Mr. Kelly Taroka, and I said, should I take the trip or not? And to his credit, he said, John, you take the trip. You won't know how good you are unless you went. So I did take the trip. We went on to New Zealand, and in New Zealand we did very badly, because this was a very bad time to go and play. It was winter, and our boys had ice feet when playing, so it was very bad for us. We lost. But when we came back to Australia, we played Kangaroos in Townsville. The first half score was 8-0. Second half was 30-14. Now, a couple of things happened that did not ask. We could have beaten them. Had we played them in PRL, we would have beaten them very badly. One of those incidents was when Brad Fittler got to score, but he dropped the ball, and the referee allowed it, 6 points. Same with Laurie Daly. He shepherded against one of the players and scored 12 points. Richard Wagambie went and scored a clear try. Later, Aquila Emil kicked an up and under, and Richard flew up there, took the ball, scored. We all went up. The referee turned around. New Zealand. Then he said, in front of the kicker. You know what happened to the water bucket to the side? Dr. Kinney knows, I broke that bucket. So, from that day to this very minute, I have people who are my friends in Australia. One of them was 13 years old. He's my friend till this very minute. He sends me messages. He's mixed Kevian, but I grew up in Australia. So it's been a roller coaster journey in Rugby League, and I guess Rugby League helped to shape me in my professional career in the commercial sector.
What changes have you seen in the way Rugby League is played and managed in PNG from your time as a player to now?
That's a good question. I think the inception of the, we used to call it Digital Cup before, was good, or is good. But as of late, I read about this Australian junior development manager, and I'm really happy with what he's doing. That is something we should have done 30, 40 years ago. It never happened. I guess it comes back to leadership of the organization. But with the Australian government putting in the money, of course they wanted their own people, which is very good. I think David Creamer is the guy's name. So now I'm seeing about this junior development pathway and our young boys having a role in Australia. Fantastic. Rugby League is going to go big way. Even though the development that are occurring over the last 1 year or so due to this entry into NRL is good. If that had happened 20 years ago, my firm belief is that we don't need to play in the NRL. We will defeat them at their own game. Simple as that. We've got the physique. I think in terms of resources, that's what we are lacking. We've got natural talent in any sports, not only rugby league, but it's a lack of financial support to develop the systems and the infrastructure is letting us down. But rugby league is doing very well now, I can say, even though I'm a critic. In our days, we had very little support. We had to pay for our own expenses, medical and so on and so forth, but now it's good. The hunter system is good. We need to have a balance in that team. We need to have a representation from the 4 regions of the country. Every single player from each part of the country have a role to play. And I would like to see that Politen is doing well. We're starting to see those young Central Polynesian guys coming in. 100 kgs, standing up at 6 feet plus. These are the kind of people we need. We don't need midgets playing against very tall and bigger guys. Because a good big man will always beat a small good man. Simple. That's a true issue. So with the hunter system, that's good. I can see some infiltration of young people from especially Central and New Guinea Islands. So I think it's a good omen. And when we get in, we will be ready.
You've been involved in initiatives like the Civic Pride Rugby League team. What motivated you to take on this role?
Okay, that's good. Actually, I was not the initiator. I was asked by Bradley Simon, who is the son of a former member from Africa, John Simon. So I was in the village and he asked me to come in to support the initiative. So I did take my time and effort to come and support the initiative. We had a meeting in Port Moresby and I was elected as the chairman. And then we had a fundraising here and we raised around 320,000 kina. And it was during the COVID time, so we had limited number of people to sit at a table, only 5 maximum. We raised 320,000 kina. I don't know of any other DigiCup team that has raised money. Everybody's sitting down on their bum and getting money from the provincial government. So that was it. So when we returned home, things started to flow in a direction that was not cognizant with my views. I had everything set up. people to go, everything, but then I started to see that I wasn't going to be able to implement what I was planning to do. So rather than create chaos, I decided to exit from civic pride. And I guess we know what happened to them. We paid $100,000 for 2 guys and nothing happened. Waste of money. So that's the long and short civic pride. Now, I'm not going to make too many comments about that. I'll just leave it at that.
What advice would you give to young Papua New Guineans aspiring to pursue a career in rugby league?
Rugby league has demonstrated to us that irrespective of your educational qualifications, if you have the talent and the commitment, you can make it big. Even if you went down to Australia and played in a 3rd grade competition, who cares? You will be paid Australian dollars. It will create an opportunity for you to remain there full time. For every dollar you send back to Papua New Guinea, to your parents, that will equate at current rate to be about 350 kina. And that's a lot of money. So I would like to encourage those young men and women who have the talent to be disciplined and focused. Don't follow the crowd. You follow the crowd, you'll be doomed. You'll be influenced by people who don't have the talent like you, and they'll destroy any hope you have. We got classical examples like young man Jura Rimbu. I've been reading about him. He was doing year 12 and so on and so forth. And now he's there. I don't know him personally. He's not my relative, but he's a Papua New Guinean. He's a rugby league player. So for me, as a rugby league icon, I'm very proud of all the people who are making a name for themselves, which is very good for Papua New Guinea because it creates a marketing opportunity for more Papua New Guineans to go. And I just read about a young Vipers Academy young man. He's in the UK now. And I'm so happy for him because he's got a single mother looking after him. And that will be a blessing for his mother, who stood behind him through thick and thin. And he's gone. So opportunities are here. We have our first person to go to UK, Philip Ralda. And then you got Stanley Gene, John O'Cool, and all those people are. And they've done very well. So they've created an opening in the UK. Australia is nearby, but as we know, it's hard to get into their team, so I don't want to make any complaints. Wherever you play in England or Australia, doesn't matter. It's an opportunity to economize rugby league and live a better life.
Mr. Wagambie, rugby league has always been a uniting force in Papua New Guinea. How do you think the sport has contributed to national identity over the past 50 years?
Well, with due respect to other sports, our country is a rugby league nation. And so the names and the faces of our rugby league players that are represented there is well known all throughout the country. So this is good because this will be a uniting factor. For example, I'm from Sipi. I got brothers from the Highlands too. So when there is a conflict going on, we will come together and say, hey, enough, listening. Don't do that. So it is a positive sign that I can minimize any tensions between my people and those from other provinces. So that's a big plus there. Plus, when I need help in any sphere of life, such as medical or whatever, I got somebody who is willing to come and help. And I think I want this mentality to be promoted by our younger generation. Doesn't matter which part of the country you come from, which as a rugby league player, you are an asset to the country. And so I would encourage you to give freely, because when you give freely, it keeps you happy and healthy. I am 71 years old now, and I believe that I have a long way to go, because I'm a simple guy. I have a big heart. I help people when need comes, and I don't talk about it. And that's how I started this Legends of League Foundation. We wanted to call it Kumuls Legacy Foundation, but we had to apply to the Minister for Trade and Industry to get the approval. And it was taking quite some time, so we decided to circumvent it. And I came here from the village, spent 5 months here, and we finally incorporated this foundation with the help of Peter Baby, my executive officer, and Bobby Hako. And this foundation, the reason why I set up this foundation is this. Many of my comrades were not well educated like me. And when they retired, they are not in a position to pay for expensive private medical treatment. So I set up this foundation for these people. When I come here and I need to go to the private clinic, I go and pay for my own expenses. I didn't set up this foundation for myself. For example, we paid 3,500 kina for Arabo Tamakus false teeth. We paid about 3,400 kina for Chris Siros's cushion for his false leg. And it's an honor and privilege to be doing things to people like that. So this foundation is in operation. I am meeting with my ex-owner to have the annual report produced because I had a surgery to my hand. I've been out of circulation for some time. So I would like to encourage everybody who can make a contribution, please make a small contribution because it's for the benefit of those of our heroes who play for our country.
Do you see parallels between the growth of rugby league in PNG and the country's journey as an independent nation?
That's a good question. And I guess many people have many views about the growth of our nation. So if I were to sit down and do an audit of what has come good, what hasn't come good, it's going to take a long time. But generally speaking, we have progress from the caveman era to where we are. And I think it's incumbent on every single citizen of this country to do what they can for our country. Yes, there is a hell of a lot of political backlash going on. Having said that, some people are deaf and blind, and so we need to do what we can as an individual to try and make a small impact in our country. We don't have to sit back and worry about the politicians, the bureaucrats. We can keep talking until the cows come home. But I think it's incumbent on each and every one of us, young and old, rich and poor, to do whatever little it can in order to ensure that our country is a good place to live. If you're in the village, you can control our youth, do that so that the village environment is conducive for people to live and enjoy life.
As Papua New Guinea celebrates 50 years of independence, how do you see rugby league playing a role in the country over the next 50 years?
Different people will make different comments, but for me, I'm very excited because, as I was saying earlier, we have Papua New Guineans in all fields of academia. They work in all over the world. And that speaks a lot of volume in terms of our education system and the resilience of our people. So in Rugby League, we will benefit big time from it because our kids, one of the requirements for you to be in a junior representative is to attend school. Our kids go to school, they learn discipline, they learn ethics, and as they grow older, that will contribute towards nations building. And when I'm there and buried, Rugby League will have a major impact our players are going to be earning millions now. And so because we are a society that looks after our kinsmanship, that money will go down to the villages wherever we are. And it will promote economic development. So if one of our children sends money to me in the village, I have the money to promote small SMEs. So from the roots all the way, people benefit. And I don't know if many people see that. So I don't care whether you're from Highlands or from where, it doesn't matter. Because this is our country. And this is to stimulate the country so that it will assist in our currency against USD and make life easy for everybody. So I'm very positive that once we get into the NRL, we are going to start to see impacts, big time.
What more do you think can be done to develop grassroots rugby league in Papua New Guinea?
As I said earlier, it's a good start. David Gilmer came, it's a good start. We need to have the PNG Rugby full board and the administration must continue to expand training programs and competitions right throughout the country where rugby league is played, and go into areas where rugby league isn't played too. It is their duty to do that and not to focus on where the leagues are being played now. They must be proactive, get off their bums and get to the places where rugby league is not played and create an opportunity for young men and women to get involved. We don't know what our talent is. Surely there are talent there, but unless we expose them, we are going to lose out and they will lose out. So my message to the authorities that be, okay, better late than never. We've got funding from Australia. Let's utilize this money well and promote rugby league in every nook and cranny in this country, because the benefits are immense.
What message do you have for the people of PNG as the country celebrates 50 years of independence?
My message is simple. Wherever you are, whatever pain you're feeling, be glad that we are still alive to witness 50 years of our independence. Let's all be happy that God gave us the breath to still live to be able to do the 50 years. As I said earlier, we all need to do our little bit to ensure that our country will be a more livable and likable place to be.